to 40 on Buffalo's defense. But it's why we see this team going back to the Super Bowl yet again. And now 5 of the last 6 seasons have seen the Kansas City Chiefs in the Super Bowl. Another tweet I saw out there, which is just ridiculous. The 2022 draft class for Kansas City has never experienced a postseason loss to this point. Those guys taken years ago do not know what it's like. There's still a Super Bowl game to go against Philadelphia, but at this point in time, as I'm speaking to you, they don't know what it's like to lose in the postseason. Phone lines are open, 913-381-0810. That's 913-381-0810. The Chiefs, a winner in the AFC title game, 32-29 over the Buffalo Bills. You listened to the ceremony. Thanks to Westwood One, we got to hear a little bit of Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce trying to get the crowd to sing "Get Down" tonight. I don't know. I think you could have stuck to the original script. Fight for your right. I think the whole crowd would have been into it. But hey, do what you want to do. When you're this successful and you constantly step on the throat of everybody you face in the postseason, do whatever the hell you want. And I know that everybody outside of Kansas City tonight, you're fuming. You are heartbroken for Buffalo. And the villain in the NFL, the true villain, Kansas City, is going back to achieve history. A three-peat, right? Something that for so many teams out there seems impossible. Even a team as great as Buffalo, and we can acknowledge that. The Buffalo Bills are a tremendous football team. They are easily the biggest threat to Kansas City next year. You can bookmark that right now. I think the Bills and the Chiefs very well could meet in this spot yet again next year. And who knows, maybe the year after that. But there's a difference in being a great team and a team that can be feared and one that takes it to a whole different level and just knows how to win in the playoffs. And I know the national perception, the national narrative throughout this season, it feels like more so this year than in previous ones. Well, the officials are the ones that benefit Kansas City. But tonight, I know there were some calls, and if you're on social media, you saw the spot on 4th and 1. Josh Allen getting stuffed in that spot. Xavier Worthy having that jump ball play, though there was a holding on, I think it was DeMar Hamlin on Travis Kelce, would have already been a first down, but the Chiefs did gain 15, 20 extra yards on that. But those are the moments you'll see tonight. Tomorrow on the national shows, you'll see those plays being talked about. But from a football standpoint tonight, you saw a Chiefs team that heard all the noise and came out breathing fire. That opening drive, 90 yards, and not to mention forcing a 3-and-out. Brian Cook had 2 drop picks on that drive, but that team was breathing fire. And I think that team listens to a lot of the outside noise in the best way. You hear that in sports. Don't pay attention to it. It shouldn't go outside this locker room. If we're confident in ourselves, we should be able to win the football game. But this Chiefs team, going back to the first Super Bowl against the 49ers, they hear that noise, they take that criticism, and they want to prove you wrong. They know they're hated. They know they are the villain. And if this was Hollywood, if this was a movie, the Buffalo Bills would have won tonight. Everybody's hero, America's team in this game. In the same way when you were watching the NFC Championship game, America was rooting for the Commanders. But movies in Hollywood aren't real life. And that's why, as I'm talking tonight, the 2 better teams won. I think Buffalo, a phenomenal team, the toughest matchup for Kansas City, but the Chiefs have their number. And I know last year, the perception was, man, after losing that game, if you're Buffalo, don't you just feel like you're cursed? But then when they had this sort of run this year without Stephon Diggs, you had that hope start to creep back in the mind. No, this team feels different than last year's team. And they got to the spot they hadn't been to since the COVID year when they came to Arrowhead Stadium, took on the Chiefs, but it was still very early on in Josh Allen's career. And the Chiefs thumped them in that game. Why? Because they were just head and shoulders better at that point in time. Patrick Mahomes was a little bit more established. He had already been to and won a Super Bowl. Josh Allen was kind of where Jaden Daniels was today. I know he was a couple more years into the league, but you have America rooting for you. There is a clear and obvious villain on the other sideline. But that villain just knows how to kill you every single time. You know, there's been movies in history where it doesn't have the fairy tale happy ending. We've seen those before. They're not everybody's favorite movie. And that's why this Super Bowl, for America, for other fan bases, this is a nightmare matchup again. The Eagles and the Chiefs. But I know the viewership is going to be sky high because you're going to tune in to watch this game because history is on the line. And for a lot of other fan bases out there, you know, it doesn't really make you feel that good that you'd be rooting for the Eagles because I know the Eagles are kind of right in that tier 2 category of getting national hatred. They're also a very successful organization. A lot of teams in the NFC East. I know a few Cowboys fans who don't like the Eagles, but they're going up against the Chiefs, the new Patriots, the team that just every single year hosts the AFC title game. Their quarterback, even if he struggles early on in the regular season, he plays his best football when it matters most. And that's why when the turnovers were happening, Rashee Rice goes down, the offensive line is struggling, the running back room is banged up, you get Kareem Hunt off the couch to be your number one running back. Xavier Worthy's too small to be a great receiver in the NFL. All of that noise didn't amount to much tonight because Kareem Hunt had the burst. He had the opening touchdown of the game. Xavier Worthy, over 100 total scrimmage yards in this game. Offensive line play. Yeah, Mike Caliendo got dog-walked back into the pocket. That made a lot of Chiefs fans go, uh-oh. Now Josh Allen's going to have his moment, his legacy moment. But they just don't make too many mistakes when the game's on the line. And again, that fourth down play, that audio you're going to hear a little bit later on in the show, that blitz by Spags, purely coaching. Why he's a genius, why he's been one of the best coordinators in football for the last handful of years. The stones to call that up, to dial that up on Josh Allen. That's one of the best calls I've seen all season from the defense. And what's funny about it, and I'm sure you were listening to the CBS broadcast, Tony Romo said right before the snap, Josh Allen's going to have time here because he didn't expect an all-out blitz from Steve Spagnuolo. But that blitz forced Josh Allen on the biggest play of the career. Well, maybe we can call it that. Maybe it was the 13-second touchdown he had to Gabe Davis. But of his career, in that moment, it felt like this is going to define you right here. You pick this up, you're either going to overtime or you're winning this game and you are getting Buffalo back to the Super Bowl. But that blitz didn't allow him to do anything. There was nothing he could read. And he has to heave it up there. Now, Dalton Kincaid almost came down with one hell of a play. But it fell incomplete. And Dalton Kincaid, blame him if you want to, I'm not going to, was a extension, a full extension. He's diving. I can't believe Josh Allen even got it there and it wasn't picked off. But in that moment, not sitting back on your heels and going, I don't want to get burned deep. Steve Spagnuolo had the stones to draw it up in that spot. And then on the final drive, look, we've seen Andy Reid do it before. Run the football. A team has all 3 timeouts. And you give the ball right back. No, Andy Reid got a little aggressive. Little pop pass to Pop Pacheco. And then another third down play. Samaje Perine. One snap, one catch, and it sends the Chiefs to the Super Bowl. At least I think it was just one snap. I can't recall another time Samaje Perine was out there. But those plays, even in the first half, the 4th and 1, going for it, knowing how big that spot is in the game, they were more aggressive. Buffalo at times was too conservative. It was a 3-point game when it was all said and done. Chiefs get it done 32-29. And again, you are tuned in to the Red and Gold Postgame Show brought to you by Boda Wine. Kick your tailgate party up a notch this football season with Boda, the ultimate tailgate wine. Boda, this is how we Boda. Please drink responsibly. Sponsored by Boda Vineyards, Manteca, California. We got 3 callers on the line right now. We're going to start things off with Kyle. Kyle, you are on the Red and Gold Postgame Show once I get the thumbs up from Dylan. Kyle, do you read us loud and clear?
Yes, sir. Can you hear me loud and clear?
We got you, buddy.
Awesome. Thank you for taking my call, and great show like always, guys. You do a fantastic job, and I can't wait for the Super Bowl. The 3 points that I want to make real quick is first things first is when Shannon Sharp and all the big guys talk about on ESPN, when it comes to big moments and big plays, Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, when it comes to big moments, they cannot finish in big moments. And that's the number one with Patrick Mahomes. They know how to win when it comes to big moments. Yeah, the Bills have played an astounding game. I'm not taking any away from Buffalo, but they had a couple big plays where they should have converted on. There was a key turnover in the beginning of the game. And then the fourth down play where the guy dove for the ball. Now, that was a tough catch, but, I mean, the guy should have caught it. But that's, again, it comes to big moments, and the Chiefs capitalize on big moments. The Bills didn't. That's my first point. Second point is I thought the defense, you're playing against, the number 1-2 offense in the football league.
Mm-hmm.
And our defense, let me tell you, played a good game today. Even with that number 1, number 2 offense, they were getting to Josh Allen, putting pressure on him. And yes, it is tough to make big play. I mean, to bring him down. But it was enough. But our defense did cause some bad throws there and there. And our defensive line was getting to him. And I'm going to give credit to the defensive line today. And they stopped him on fourth down. And on the close to the fourth and goal. So our defense played pretty good. I'm going to give credit to our defense today because they made big plays when they needed to. And number 3, our wide receivers, everybody was getting involved. Hollywood Brown got involved. Juju Smith-Schuster got involved. D-Hop got involved. Xavier Worthy, it seemed like Mahomes was throwing the ball to every single guy, not just one. And that, I think, to me, was big. Is the reason why we won the game. And, of course, Mahomes' legs. Mahomes, again, but like I said when I made my first point, it comes to big moments. And the Chiefs know how to win in big moments. Josh Allen does not know how to win in big moments. I'll listen off the air, and thank you for taking my call.
Yeah, appreciate the phone call, Kyle. Good stuff as always. And, yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, the defense gave up 29 points, but I thought on numerous possessions and possessions that mattered the most, man, were they big. They had their moments, right? They had some drives where there was busted coverage. Mac Hollins toward the end of the half. I thought it was good coverage by Trent McDuffie, but just can't have a one-on-one down the field like that with no help over the top at that stage in the second quarter. Then you also have the fourth quarter touchdown where Curtis Samuel's wide open with nobody within 10 yards of him. Like, there were bad moments on the defense, but I'll tell you this, they almost never bring Josh Allen down. Didn't in Week 11, felt like they never did in Buffalo last year, didn't even feel like they did it one time in the 13-second game, though I did think they got to him home once. But tonight, I thought there was a handful of times they were able to get into the backfield, cause some havoc. George Karlaftis, Turk Wharton, Chris Jones, Mike Dana got a sack tonight. And the tush push stopped him 3 times. We'll talk about that not only tonight, but looking ahead to the Super Bowl because the Philadelphia Eagles, a little bit of a cheat sheet here, they like to use the tush push a hell of a lot more than Buffalo. Going to go back to the phone lines here and go to Jeremy. Jeremy, you're on the Red and Gold Postgame Show.
Hey, Jack, can you hear me?
We got you loud and clear.
Nice. I am a long-time listener, third-time caller. It's very nice to hear from you. I thoroughly enjoyed the game tonight. I thought that it was a immaculate game that was played and called by Andy Reid himself. I actually newly moved up to Kansas City, and my question is, I see all the hype going on around me, and it's suffocating, and I want to know, what does it feel like to be in that position to win 3 Super Bowls in a row? To be in that position to actually have that chance to make history. And, I saw it firsthand. It is very obvious that this team has all the weapons to do it. they can make it there. And obviously, I would really love for them to beat the Eagles. I am not an Eagles lover. I am not huge on the Eagles. I think the Eagles should not be able to win this game, and I really think that Pat Mahomes can do it. And I think that I want to know your comments and your insight about, can they do it? Can they make history? Can they actually pull this off? Because I really want to see it. I really want to be a part of something new, and I really want to make sure that this actually is something that what has been talked about for the past few months, and I really want to be a part of this excitement.
Hey, I love the phone call, Jeremy, and I hope you are having a good time and all moved in up in Kansas City, because you certainly moved up at the right time, that's for sure. Yeah, your question, can they do it? You know, when I was watching the NFC Championship game today, Saquon Barkley, once again, just going nuts, running all over the Commanders' defense. And by the way, it wasn't like he got 150, 160 on 30 or 35 carries. He got 60 of them on one play. The first time he touched the ball, he gets 60. So I bookmarked that, and I see Saquon Barkley time and time again get the ball. He's patient. It reminds me a lot of when Le'Veon Bell was in his prime in Pittsburgh. And a lot of Chiefs fans, you don't need me to remind you about that game. Just the patience of waiting for a hole to open up. Philly's offensive line, phenomenal. Jalen Hurts, if he's not making too many mistakes, he's going to be tough to stop. The receiving core, Devonta Smith, A.J. Brown, Dallas Goedert at the tight end position. There are a lot of weapons you got to worry about. And even when you face Buffalo, I'm not sure their weapons really match up with Philadelphia. James Cook, a damn good running back. He's not Saquon Barkley. A.J. Brown, there was nobody on Buffalo that's like A.J. Brown. But they did have the quarterback advantage. So when I look at this game on paper, if you want to feel optimistic, if you want to feel positive, the Chiefs are pretty good at stopping the run. At least they showed it so far in the regular season. Tonight, there were a couple times that James Cook broke free. Sometimes, though, those guys are going to get theirs. I go back to the Super Bowl last year against San Francisco. You just knew Christian McCaffrey was going to get his. Like, you're not going to be able to hold that guy to 20 or 30 yards rushing. The Eagles are going to rely a lot on Saquon Barkley, but why you should feel optimistic? Because I don't think there is a great pivot for Philadelphia if Saquon Barkley doesn't get going in this one. If Saquon Barkley doesn't have chunk yardage after chunk yardage after chunk yardage, it's going to force Jalen Hurts to make the big play. And I think we've seen before in the postseason and even in the Super Bowl last year, you put him in some of those spots, he's not going to be able to go toe-to-toe with Patrick Mahomes. And Patrick Mahomes has shown in the postseason when he's got his back up against the wall, he's going to have that game-winning drive. Now, I don't want to discredit what Jalen Hurts did in the Super Bowl against Kansas City because that offense was dialed in. Right, Jalen Hurts looked really good. But there's also moments where you go, man, you just can't have that in the Super Bowl. The scoop and score by Nick Bolton, where Jalen Hurts tries to switch hands, can't make that mistake in the Super Bowl. So that's why I very much circle Saquon Barkley. And it sounds like a dumb thing to go over because obviously that's the best player on Philadelphia. But I look at those three matchups that they've had, all at home, Green Bay, Los Angeles, and then Washington. Saquon Barkley was doing everything possible to make sure the game never really had to take focus off of him. He was the guy that was going to do the damage. So if the Chiefs can bottle him up, and when I mean bottle him up, hold him to under 5 yards a carry. I'm not going to get into the 100, 120, 130-yard performance. He might get that. But if you make him go 35, 36 rushes, well, then you're containing him. And I think against Philadelphia's defense, it is a very good defense. I think we saw today, they stifled what the Commanders had to offer. Jaden Daniels, who looked like an MVP candidate against Detroit's defense, a banged-up Detroit defense, he was a shell of himself. Lots of turnovers. They're going to try to punch the ball out. But matchup-wise, we still got 2 weeks to go. I'm curious what the line's going to be. I think earlier this week, if there was going to be a Chiefs-Eagles matchup when they're making projections because they had the Bills and the Eagles, they had the Commanders and the Chiefs, I think the Chiefs-Eagles one was about 1.5 points, if I'm not mistaken. That may shift a little bit now because Philadelphia nearly hung 60 on the Commanders. But I do think if you're the Chiefs and you are a Chiefs fan feeling a little bit uneasy, this Philly team, they look really dangerous. Well, I think we felt that way about Buffalo. Buffalo all season long, point differential. the way they put up nearly 50 on Detroit when the Lions were the talk of the league. It didn't matter when it was all said and done. And for this Super Bowl matchup, I think turnovers are going to play a huge part in it. You know, if you can force 2 or so turnovers on the Eagles, I think the Chiefs' offense is going to have a really good chance to look as good as they did tonight in a 32-29 win over the Buffalo Bills. They are advancing to New Orleans to take on Philadelphia. Great calls so far on the show. One more I want to get to before we hit a break and come back and recap a little bit more of what happened tonight, and might have some post-game audio here up at the podium from the Kansas City Chiefs. You'll be hearing from a lot of people tonight. We'll be going pretty late tonight. We will not be getting much sleep before work tomorrow morning, but that's all fine because it'd be a hell of a lot worse if we were talking about a loss in the AFC title game at this point right now. Let's go back to the phone lines and hear from Sean. Sean from New Jersey, do you got us loud and clear?
Hey, how you doing, guys? Great victory tonight. It's so good to beat the Buffalo Bills and just silence the critics because all through the week, we've been hearing the sugar honey iced tea about these Buffalo Bills. And we silenced the critics. No rough help, because that's what we were getting. Nothing but the refs. So listen, I just want to ask you a question. What does this win with the Chiefs over Buffalo define Josh Allen's career and McDermott coaching? What needs to go on in Buffalo? Because obviously what they have going on, it's not working. The formula is not working. And from what we've been hearing all year, I know everybody been hearing it. This is the best Buffalo. This is the best Buffalo's team that they've had. They've let Stephon Diggs go. They've let all these other players go, but they still can't get over that hump.
Hey, appreciate the phone call, Sean. And, yeah, we'll come back to you real quick. We got to go to Andy Reid Live, and we'll get to the thoughts on the Buffalo Bills after that.
For us to allow us to have the players we have and the equipment and everything that goes with that, and then this beautiful stadium with our fans, it's incredible. What a great experience. But we're not done. So we're not done. We've got another game against a real good Philadelphia Eagles team, and we've got a lot of preparation to go before we have a chance to play them. I'd like to take my hat off here to the Buffalo Bills and the great job that Sean's done with that group and his coaches and players. Every time we play them, it's one to store away in the history books. It's just they're great, phenomenal games, and it's great for the fans. It's great for the league. I also like to put a shout out to the coaches, our coaches, for the job that they did, the coordinators, for putting together these game plans, literally a game of inches today. And we were lucky to be on that side of it, where we had the most inches. So that was a positive thing. And then for Mark Donovan and the great work that he does as our president, and Brett Veach for giving us these players so we can go play at the level that we play at. So, anyways, with that, time's yours.
Andy, what would you say? All these close games over the last couple of years, encourage you guys for this moment. Is that part of what comes through in the end?
Yeah, I mean, listen, right? I mean, this came right down to an inch, literally. I mean, that's what the stop was. And so it was back and forth. It was going to be back and forth. Whoever had the ball last was probably going to come out on the, in the lead, so in the win. But I'm proud of our guys battling like they battled. I mean, Pat Mahomes was phenomenal. Travis Kelce, their leadership, Chris Jones. I can just go through all these guys. I mean, they didn't waver at all, and that's how they've been. I mean, you know that from training camp. I mean, they've got this personality where they know how to bear down. They know when to have fun, but they also know when to bear down.
And can you go through also the 4th and 1 play on, I think, inside your own territory? Not typical for you guys. What went into doing that?
I just want to give you something to write about by. Now, listen, again, that's a trust thing. You have to have trust in your guys. We called a timeout so we could kind of calm the minds and take what we thought was our best play and against them there. And so between that one and that last one at the end that P. Ryan had, we had some time to kind of digest those.
Andy, when these head coaching cycles come around, Spags is not at the top of the list.
Yeah, listen, I have the utmost respect for him, and I know he'd be a great head coach. I don't want to lose him selfishly, but I know what kind of coach he is, and I know the situation that he was in with the Rams and all that, and you give him another opportunity, and he'll do a great job there. But that I can't determine that, and we don't have time to worry too much about that with all this going on.
Andy, others seem to be really motivated by the chance to go for free. Clark talked about it out there, Matt talked about it out there. Now that you're in the moment and you're not immediately preparing for another game, is it at all motivating to you as well?
I think motivation is the wrong word, or I'm gonna just change that for you. So I would tell you we're motivated like crazy to win the game. I mean, that's what you're motivated to do. You get caught up in that other stuff, all the hype that goes with it, and then you forget about 3rd and 1 and detailing that, either side of the ball. So you've got to keep everything in perspective. And really, when it comes down to it, all the confetti, all that's great. I mean, it's great. Nothing like doing it with your home fans. But it's going to come down to a football game. And the team that prepares and makes the least amount of mistakes will come out the victor. So you make sure that you keep your head right and bear down and do the right things.
You mentioned that play. What does it say about Nick to be able to make that play? Really, what has he made these past few years?
Yeah, Bolton. Yeah, he's unbelievable. He's a great kid, great player. Pride of Missouri, MU, baby. And so he's been fun to be around and coach.
Andy, nine teams have gone back to back. Why is it taking this long for somebody to get to the third after that? What makes it so difficult?
Yeah, I mean, you think of all the ups and downs and arounds that you went through during the season, the injuries, all those things that have to just happen the right way. With the margin to win and or lose in this league is so small, the parity is unbelievable. And that's the way the commissioner and the owners wanted that, so that every city had a chance. And so it's just some of these games are they're gut wrenching, and I've got a lot of gut to wrench. So it's one of those things. So you really have to you got to hit it right, and it's got to come out right.
We'll do a couple more guys. Go ahead, Todd. Coach, you've got a lot of guys who won Super Bowls and all that, but you've got some new guys, especially some veteran guys. Just what are your feelings for DeAndre?
Yeah, I was so happy for him. DJ's another one. I mean, I was so happy for those guys. I mean, the smile on their faces and their compete throughout the time that they were here has been incredible. I mean, literally took Kareem off the couch, and after having a couple surgeries and all that bit that he had, and here he comes out and does a great job for us here.
Okay, thanks, Coach.
Okay, good. Thank you.
All right, that was Andy Reid after the AFC title game in which he coached the Chiefs to a 32-29 win over the Buffalo Bills. We'll be hearing from Patrick Mahomes a little bit later on, but I did want to answer the question that Sean had. I was champing at the bit, as they would say. I know Sterling Holmes, not a fan, or maybe it's a chip on the shoulder. Can't remember which saying he hates. It's kind of irrelevant at this point.
Champing.
But champing, yeah, that's what Dylan tells me. But, Sean, to your question, what this does for the legacy of the Buffalo Bills, I do not think it should be understated how hard it is to get to this spot, no matter who you are. If you've got the quarterback, if you've got the coach, if you've got the weapons, if you've got the defense, it still takes a lot to go right. It really is a perfect storm when you get there. I think the Chiefs have changed everybody's perspective about it because they do it so often. In the same way where New England, in their dynastic run, you watch them get back to Super Bowls over and over and over again, and you wondered why, even if you had a great team, you couldn't get it done. Because what Buffalo has right now is a great quarterback. They've got a lot of great weapons around Josh Allen. They actually went cheaper, it felt like, this past offseason so they could extend their window. And I don't think the Buffalo Bills are going away anytime soon. But what it does for the legacy, in my opinion, is now it's something you really can't overcome, even if you find a way to beat Patrick Mahomes in the future. Because the same thing we saw with Brady and Manning, right? Manning was the one that always came up short. Brady always beat him and the Colts. Until just 1 year he didn't. I think it was 2006 in Indianapolis. Peyton Manning finally beat Tom Brady. But when you look back at that era of successful quarterbacks, there were guys that were really good with great teams that now when you talk about them, you just say, man, they were a really good team. It's odd they didn't get to one Super Bowl or they didn't win one. You know, one of those teams that comes to mind for me is like Green Bay with Aaron Rodgers, winning one earlier on in his career, having a lot of great teams but falling short. And their nemesis was the 49ers. I think the stat I saw last week was Aaron Rodgers was 0-4 in his career in the postseason against San Francisco. Like, you can't overcome that. You know, Drew Brees and the Saints, they were good for a number of years with Sean Payton. They won a Super Bowl. We all remember that. But it also was just one. And for Buffalo, I think the pain of the 90s is just constantly felt now with Josh Allen. You can't really explain it. I would love to sit here and tell you why that team didn't get there, but with this Buffalo Bills team, I really can't tell you. This Bills team, offensively, defensively, it felt like they had the perfect recipe to beat Kansas City this time. Now, you can also rebuttal with me and say, well, the defense was banged up. Their defense wasn't as sound as it used to be. I can agree with that. But everybody kind of has their cracks on defense. Everybody's got their issues somewhere. Nobody's got that early 2000s Baltimore defense. And even last year, that Ravens team had no business to losing to Kansas City in the AFC title game. But sometimes it just happens, right? There were good Chiefs teams with Alex Smith that were just limited. But even then you can point to, Alex Smith in that offense, they couldn't score 30 against Big Ben. Right? They couldn't go toe-to-toe with Brady because Brady could put up 35 at Foxborough. With Buffalo, they can go toe-to-toe with you. They can score 30. They can win shootouts. They can win muddied-up football games. But it just feels like the Chiefs are their boogeyman. And they can't get over that. I would love to tell you, Sean, this team, there's an obvious answer why they can't get there. I don't have a definitive one. I think they're going to be back in this spot next year, or at least in the divisional round, because they're that good. But until they beat Kansas City, the best answer I might be able to give you is it's a mental block. They just know the Chiefs have their number. When the weather gets colder and it's at Arrowhead or it's at Highmark, the Chiefs have now done it 4 times to them. I could not imagine right now driving home or wherever you may be in Buffalo and dealing with this game again. It would be absolutely sickening. And I know that the Bills are rivals and Chiefs fans are going to love all week poking fun of them, but from a human standpoint, man, that is a gut punch, to say the least. That's not really doing it much justice. This one might be more sickening than last year, if you ask me, because at least last year it was the divisional round. They would have had to go to Baltimore and win that game. All right, we're going to take our first break of the show. When we come back, we might get to Patrick Mahomes. You're listening to the Red and Gold Postgame Show on Sports Radio 810 WHB. to Samaje Perine. Just one-on-one on the outside. Got the edge. Bad angle by, I'm blanking on who it was for Buffalo. I think it was one of the linebackers, but not quick enough to catch Samaje Perine. So that play was the play of the game, brought to you by Central Bank of the Midwest. Before we get to Patrick Mahomes, I wanted to touch a little bit on Xavier Worthy and why I think if you went back to April for the NFL draft, when you saw the Buffalo Bills on the clock, and all of a sudden you got that little jingle that happens, and you hear the Buffalo Bills have traded with the Kansas City Chiefs for their pick. And at that point in time, there was a couple of guys that were running through my mind. In fact, one of those players, Kingsley Suamataia, I thought, with a late first-round grade, could have been taken there. Then I thought, well, it's probably going to be a receiver because there's still a lot of guys out there on the board. One guy I really liked, at least the player profile, was Adonai Mitchell out of Texas. Adonai Mitchell was not selected, and he went later on to the Indianapolis Colts. Instead, the Chiefs took Xavier Worthy out of Texas, the teammate of Adonai Mitchell. And everybody knew about the game-changing speed, the 40-yard dash that he had. But it also was brought up about his size, being a smaller wide receiver, only $160. But if you were an optimist, you would have said, well, we saw Devontae Smith do it in Philadelphia, smaller-bodied wide receiver out of Alabama, and you're going to see him in the Super Bowl for Philadelphia once again. And then there's that clip in training camp that goes around where Xavier Worthy gets blown up on the play. And that kind of doubled down on he's too small to be anything more than a gadget player. But again, that was a few months after the draft. On that night, I feel like every NFL fan base went, what is Buffalo doing? Seriously, what is Buffalo doing? Anybody else that trades out of that spot, fine. We can understand the reasoning. And I'm also somebody that believes you're kind of foolish if you just don't trade with the team because you can't beat them or you don't like them or you don't want to help them. We saw Baltimore give a much-needed left tackle to Kansas City and Orlando Brown Jr. when everybody's going, why are you giving them the Band-Aid when they're gushing blood at that spot?
We traded with the Patriots all the time.
Exactly. You can't operate with emotion like that as a GM. But for Buffalo, I don't know. It felt different. It just feels different with Buffalo. And at that moment, when the Chiefs took Worthy and the Bills later on took Keon Coleman, everybody said, okay, if Buffalo's right, then they're going to look like a genius. If Keon Coleman becomes a great player in year one and Worthy's nothing more than a gadget guy, we can live with you trading with Kansas City. But tonight, man, I got to tell you, and the way that Worthy came on late, I think that he is somebody that is not just going to be a great player this year, the rest of this year, only one more game to go, but a guy you can count on for a chunk of years in Kansas City. Now, Dylan, I believe we have Chris Jones at the podium, so giving me the thumbs up now. We'll talk about Worthy here in a second, but here is Chris Jones live.
That situation, everybody, Bills know it, you know it, the fans know it. Spags is going in the house. He's going to do something crazy there. I mean, he has that much trust in you guys to just go make a play. What does that mean to you?
I mean, it's all year, you know, building that. We work through situations throughout the year within practice, late game situations, 2-minute situations. So for us, it's just another play. We're very comfortable in it, and we trust in Spags to put us in the right position to make a play.
Hey, Chris, what do you say to the detractors? There's a lot of people that were pulling for Buffalo just because they're not Kansas City. The jealousy that comes with winning a lot. How do you process that, and what's your answer to that?
There's no answer, man. We just keep winning, you know.
Do you feel the sentiments that people don't want to see you win just because you guys are so successful?
I mean, that comes with it. It comes with being successful, right? You get less attractive, you know. More no pun intended. But you get less attractive, man. The more success you have, the more people want to see you fail. You know, and I spoke on it last week. It's about getting to that mountaintop, and every year it's a climb. Every year it's a climb. There's a lot of adversity amongst the way of the climb, and we just got to continue at it.
Does this feel like old hat routine? I mean, how do you guys keep this fresh?
No, I don't feel like no hat routine. I wish it was that easy, man. But you know, the challenge is like Brett Veach got to bring in new guys every year, and with success, you have a lot of coaches, a lot of players go to other teams, whether it's for money, whether it's for better opportunities, and so it's like a start over. You have to start over with the young core you have and build off of that. We got a lot of new faces on this defense, a lot of young talent on this defense, and instilling the habit of trust, chemistry amongst training camp. That's why it's so important for us within training camp, and building off of that throughout the year. You know, we had our number one receiver go down early. Pacheco went down early, brought in Kareem, a familiar face. And, you know, to overcome a lot of injuries early on, and, you know, just tells you about the resilience of this team, man.
Chris, going back to the 4th and 5, you got the ball off in the air forever, it seemed like. What was your vantage point when the ball was in the air and the kid got some hands on it?
I hope this guy don't catch this ball, please. I'm tired. Get us off the field. Let's work out.
We got last two, Vahe and Matt.
Chris, how much do you feel like all the close wins all along prepared you for this moment today? I mean, you've been doing it for a couple of years, but this season particularly.
I think it prepared us for close game situations better. You look at the games we had, then we had like 6 or 7 games where it was one possession. You know, we could continue to build off of that throughout the year, and you know, these games are very familiar with us. We're used to being in these type of situations, so we feel very calm. We feel very at peace with what we're running, the speed of it, the pace of it, and the play calling.
How quickly do you put tonight behind you and then start looking forward and start focusing on Philadelphia? And obviously, they've got to have revenge on their mind.
Coach Reid will be there at like 3 a.m. in the morning watching film. Listen, you got to take it with stride, man. There's a lot of obstacles we have to face to get here. You got to appreciate that aspect of it. Appreciate how tonight turned out. But we also got one more game ahead of us, an important one. So, you know, you got 24 hours to sit on it, have you a nice drink or something, whatever you choose to do with yourself. And we got 2 weeks to prepare for Philadelphia, right? Yeah. Y'all take care.
All right, that was Chris Jones after the game. Hey, he did look exhausted there at the very end. And if Dalton Kincaid pulls that down, I would have a hard time being convinced that the Chiefs were going to find a way to win that one. Because you convert on a play like that, a Hail Mary, who knows what type of momentum you have. All right, Patrick Mahomes, right after Chris Jones, we're going to him live.
Yeah, there was a conversation for sure, and we just wanted to have a play that we liked, and Coach Reid trusted us. He trusted us a lot tonight, and we were able to go out there and make a play happen. And obviously, you roll out and you want to throw it to a couple guys, but when you can run it, you just take it. And it was a big moment in the game, and we were able to go down and get points after that. No, there was differences to it. It's actually very similar. I don't know if you remember to the play that we ran for a touchdown to Travis in the first Super Bowl. And so just getting me on the edge, having a couple options for guys to throw it to, and then if they take that away in man coverage, just use your feet and get the first down.
Patrick, any sense coming into this game you would run for more yards and more touchdowns than Josh Allen did?
I didn't know that. Not necessarily. They always give me options to kind of pull the ball and run it, and they were playing man coverage a lot of the day, and they were putting a lot of attention on Travis. And so with them kind of that pushing that safety and pushing extra linebackers to Travis, it opened up different lanes for me to run, and I was able to run the football. And I pulled some of those reads that I've had all season long just because it's playoffs, and you have to make sure that the defense is true to what their rules are.
Whose idea is it to have you roll out with Travis as the lead blocker? How much have y'all been working on that play, given you ran it from the 10? It's not like you're
Yeah, no, it's actually the same run that Kareem scored on, and I handed it off on that one, and then based off how the DN played, I knew that he was going to try to get in there and not let him score again, and he went down, and I pulled it and went out, and Noah had a great block, and then Xavier I think was out there on the edge, and then Travis with the big block to get me into the end zone, and so it's about reading the defense, going out there and making plays, and it's always great when you have guys that are going to lay their body on the line in front of you to get you into the end zone.
The last possession when Isaiah was trying to get down, and then the decision with the play was Samaje.
Yeah, it's just like I said, a ton of trust by Coach Reid to give me the football and let me have a chance to throw the ball. It helped that they called timeouts, and I mean, obviously they had to, but it gave me time to talk with the coaches, get to the play that we wanted, stuff that we had talked about the night before the game, and was able to know that if it wasn't there, just take the sack, run for it as much as you can, let the clock run, and it's a lot of trust, and it comes from a lot of experience in those moments, and Samaje with a big-time play. I haven't seen it yet because I got tackled after the throw. I looked up at the other scoreboard. But it seemed like he made a great move and stayed in bounds. And so it's just execution stuff that we work on every single week.
Obviously, the real goal is still ahead, but can you just describe the feeling of getting to that after all this and maybe what was going through your head as you're running around the field celebrating right when it ended?
It's just so hard to get to the Super Bowl, and I don't take it for granted. And to be able to do it again at Arrowhead was special. I mean, last year it was awesome. You get there and you win it, but you're at a different stadium. And then being able to win it at Arrowhead, and then you get that trophy on that stage, and you look around, and there's not a seat empty. It is a special place, and I'm glad that I get to be a part of Chiefs Kingdom and here in Kansas City because these moments that I'll have for the rest of my life.
What do you say it took to get here?
Yeah, it's a long process, and it takes everybody. It takes every single person on the team, and you saw that tonight. If it was special teams, if it was offense, if it was defense, everybody had their role in this game, and that was a great football team that we played. And so for us to go through the season and win the games the way that we won them, I'm proud of the team. But like you said, we're not to the ultimate goal yet, and this will be a great challenge for us with Philadelphia. And so I'm excited for the guys preparing and get to New Orleans and put up our best shot.
Patrick, I know you're trying to win every year, but in this moment, when you chance to get the three, does this one feel a little bigger, maybe, in this moment?
I mean, not necessarily. I put every single season as its own season, and every team's different. You get new guys, you get guys that have to step up in different roles, and so I just go about my business and just try to prepare everybody to be in the best possible situations to succeed. And obviously, it'll be awesome. I think it'll be something I look back at the end of my career if we're able to go out there and get that three-peat. But at the same time, you just treat it as one season and one Super Bowl run, which is always hard to do.
We'll go across the room, Glenn.
Patrick, a lot of your new teammates are going to get a chance to experience Super Bowl. A lot of them Carson Wentz who went to. How special it is to work with him, and how has it helped your preparation? And what is he going to be?
Yeah, Carson's extremely intelligent. He's someone he's there early. He works extremely hard. And you see why he has the talent, so you see why he was a starting quarterback in this league and an MVP level quarterback in this league. And so excited for him. I mean, I know he got the Super Bowl when he was in Philly, but to be able to go up against the Eagles again, like a lot of these guys on our team have that Philadelphia history. And so it'll be a great moment to be able to go up and do that and try to do whatever we can to find a way to get a win.
Patrick, can you explain the handoff issue with you and Pacheco, and what did you tell yourself to not let that turnover sort of snowball in the wrong way?
Yeah, I mean, I was trying to pull it to either run or throw the ball. Obviously, I did it a little too late. And so it's hard to put the running back in that position whenever they're trying to run and hit the hole and you try to make a late decision to pull the football. But obviously, you just move on. You just kind of keep pushing forward. It hurt in the moment. It hurt our team, and they went down and got points. But it was a long football game left. And so throughout different times in the game, you have to find ways to push through, even when you're not playing your best football, and we were able to do that tonight.
Yeah. Well, you guys win so many close games over and over again. Like in theory, like mathematically, it's almost like impossible to do that. How do you guys make that like a sustainable thing?
It's because it's everybody. It's not just one side of the football. I mean, if you look today, I mean, obviously I think the offense played well, but we didn't score that touchdown there at the end. And the defense stopped Josh, one of the best quarterbacks in the league, in a critical situation to give us a chance to run the timeout. And so it takes everybody, and we've done it so many different ways now that we just have full trust. And the coaches have trust in the players trust in the coaches. and we go out there and execute our job. And when you've done it over and over again, it becomes habit. And, I mean, obviously, we would want to win by more, but I think the regular season, winning all those close games, has prepared us for moments like today.
Last three, Todd.
You mentioned it, giving Josh the chance to go down and win it. What was your perspective when McDuffie's blitzing and he's heaving it up and Dalton has the ball? What's going through your mind? What are you seeing on that?
Yeah, I mean, you're obviously nervous. I mean, I'm always nervous whenever the football's not in my hand, but I have so much trust in that defense. They've done it all year, and I know that's a great offense that they're going up against, and Josh has made a lot of great plays all night, all season long. But I trust that Spags is going to call the right blitz or call the right coverage, and the guys are going to execute the assignment, and then whatever happens, happens. And so I was very happy that it was incomplete, and we were able to run the timeout after that.
After 17 postseason win now, second most by quarterback in NFL history, just how does that feel after the scoring?
Yeah, it's obviously really cool. That's your goal, is to win in the postseason. But I've been blessed to be on a lot of great football teams with a lot of great coaches and a great organization. And I just try to maximize every moment because you never know when it's going to be your last one. I know I'm a long way from Tom, so I'll try to do whatever I can to get close to that.
You guys have turnover every year. Some of these guys have been with you since the beginning, like Travis and Chris. What does it mean to you to have a chance to get to do this with those guys?
Yeah, I mean, it means the world to me because I see the work they put in every single day. I mean, everybody sees, especially those two, their personalities and how fun they are and how much people like to be around them. But the work that they put in every single day, even when they're at the top of their game, is what makes them so special. And so, like I said, I just try to maximize the opportunities I have with those guys. And I'm so appreciative of being in this situation with this team. And I'm just excited to go out there and have another challenge in the Super Bowl and with those guys as leaders beside me.
Last one, Matt. Patrick, how quickly do you put this behind you and start moving on to look at that Super Bowl and start working on the Eagles and getting ready for that?
Yeah, I mean, I'll have a good night tonight, but after that, we'll be right on to focusing on the Eagles. We have a meeting tomorrow, and you try to take care of like your tickets and everything like that, and then you just focus on the game plan. This is a great football team we're playing. They're great on offense, they're great on defense and special teams, and so we played them in a close Super Bowl a couple years ago, but they've added players and they've got even better, and so it'll take our best football to win, and we'll be prepared, and we'll try to go out there and do that.
Thanks, Patrick.
All right, there he goes. That's Patrick Mahomes after yet another AFC Championship game win. He's going for a three-peat, and I do want to bring up something Dylan Michaels told me while Patrick was up at the podium. You know, he talked about Tom Brady, and I'm still a ways off from Tom Brady. By the way, tonight, Patrick Mahomes, second all-time in postseason wins, 17. He's 17-3 in his career. Still trailing Tom Brady's 35, I think it is, but what Dylan said is Tom Brady's first Super Bowl that he's calling will be Patrick Mahomes going for a three-peat. You may not like Brady as a broadcaster, but that is a pretty good storyline going into this one. Chiefs and Eagles, it is set up coming up here in 2 weeks down in New Orleans. I do want to circle back real quickly to what we were talking about with Xavier Worthy and what this season has meant for him, what this season has meant for the Chiefs, and you know how Buffalo tonight is having to deal with that reality that Xavier Worthy was somebody they shouldn't have let Kansas City get. You know, in my opinion, you know, you're able to get a couple more picks. You know, when you're trading back, you can always stockpile some picks. But in that spot, what I think Buffalo could have done is just taken Keon Coleman if they wanted to in that spot. And maybe Worthy would have been taken. I don't think that you have to look at it and say Buffalo had to take Worthy because I don't know if he would have been a scheme fit there. But just to gift Kansas City that opportunity and for him tonight to go for over 100 total scrimmage yards, it has to be painful. And Keon Coleman had one catch tonight. And I do think Keon Coleman is going to be a fine wide receiver in the NFL. But I think after year one, you can say that Worthy was just better and a better fit in Kansas City than Coleman was able to do in Buffalo. Coleman was also hurt. But I also go to that game in L.A. early on in the season against the Chargers. Rashee Rice goes down on the interception that Patrick Mahomes throws. Mahomes felt terrible about it. It sidelines Rashee Rice for the rest of the season. And at that point, you're going, well, Worthy's now going to have to be thrust into that number one role because Hollywood Brown's not there either. Hollywood Brown went down in the first preseason play of the year. The very first play. and you didn't get him back until the Houston game on December 21st. Rashee Rice goes down before week 5. And though it was clunky at times, remember there was that disconnect between Mahomes and Worthy on the deep ball? Now they know exactly how to design plays for him. And it is eerily similar to the way things transpired for Rashee Rice last year. He gets thrust into the top wide receiver role, and he just got better each and every week. Worthy, same thing. You can, write off that just a gadget player, McCole Hardman 2.0. I think Worthy is a legitimate wide receiver and a legitimate threat to a lot of teams. His route running has gotten better. He's able to high point the ball at times. He's not just getting end arounds and screen passes and pop plays. He's running routes, getting open, and when he gets the ball out in space, he's tough to catch. Now, he's not going to break too many tackles just because of his size, but it doesn't matter if you can't catch him, if you can't get in front of him. And Worthy tonight, I think, has me feeling the best out of anybody. I could sit here and say, well, Patrick Mahomes doing what he usually does. Yeah, that makes me feel great. But even for next year, regardless of what happens in the Super Bowl, I look at what the state of the wide receiver room could be. A Worthy that has come on strong like this, and Rashee Rice, who looked like a true NFL number 1 wide receiver, not just the Chiefs' number 1 wide receiver in the first couple weeks of the season. Those two, both under 25 years old, that's what Patrick Mahomes has. Man, add one more guy, a Hollywood Brown again, bring him back on a 1-year deal, or somebody else on a cheap deal, a prove-it deal, and you feel really good about where that group is at because of how great Worthy has become. Now, after the game, he was interviewed by scrum of reporters and our very own Stephen St. John. Todd Lebo, got that wrong. I know we'll be hearing from Stephen St. John later on in the show because he was down there in the locker room getting tons of audio. But our very own Todd Lebo was down there in the scrum with Xavier Worthy.
He's going to go down as one of the greatest to ever play the sport, so just having him on my side is a blessing.
How about the way the wide receivers stepped up today after having just 1 reception last week against Houston?
Man, like you said, having 1 reception, we weren't part of the game plan. We have other ways to win the game, so it just shows our versatility on the team.
Is this what you had in mind when you were drafted?
100%.
I remember talking to you when you got drafted, and it didn't take long to understand that this is the expectation here, right?
Yes.
That's been the entire time you've been here. Did you feel that all year long?
Yeah, 100%, man. That's the guys, man. All they talked about was the next game. We never dwelled back on the old games. We always focused on the next opponent at hand.
Did it feel a little bit elevated this week, though?
Not at all. Really? Like we said, we had the same speech, the same practice, the same game plan every week. So, we just kept it normal. We kept it as like a regular season game.
So how many people are going to want Super Bowl tickets?
Oh, man. Hey, I don't even know, man.
Anyone's welcome, though, right? How many people?
Hey, no, not anybody's welcome. Not
anybody, right?
No.
Yeah, that was Xavier Worthy, our very own Todd Lebo down there asking a few questions, especially toward the end. But the transformation you've seen, and I think that's my favorite part, aside from all the winning, but my favorite part about watching these past few Chiefs teams is you see this guy that may not start the year as strong. Maybe he's got high expectations. Maybe he surprises you. And I think now in 3 consecutive seasons, the Chiefs have had that. Maybe I'm blanking on 4 years ago. But Isaiah Pacheco had that surge. I was about to say resurgence, but there was a surge. It was his rookie season. Took the number 1 running back spot and won over the hearts of everybody in Kansas City. And you felt like, there's your running back, right? The next year, it's Rashee Rice. Has a touchdown on opening night against the Lions and just gets better and better and better. Has a couple of huge catches in the postseason and a lot of memorable ones in the Super Bowl against San Francisco. And this year, it's Xavier Worthy. And Worthy, I think, had the most difficult job when you're comparing him to the other two, right? Worthy was supposed to come in and be this team's number 3, number 4. And if we're talking pass catchers, he would have been number 4, behind Hollywood Brown, Rice, and Travis Kelce. And yet, even with some of those growing pains, even with some of those struggles, You just saw that gradual progression each and every week. And now you feel like you've got a big-time threat. And he's only going to get better. And when Rashee Rice comes back and he's healthy, that offense is only going to get better. That's the best thing when I look at this offense and what I take away tonight. You know, some of those guys that you saw make big plays tonight, both on the offensive and defensive side of things, they may not be back next year. Worley's going to. Right? And even though you're in the middle of this dynastic run in a three-peat, and you really shouldn't be talking about, the young future for Kansas City. To me, it's pretty exciting to think about. Because the Chiefs traded away a future Hall of Famer in Tyreek Hill 3 years ago. And you felt like at that time, it's going to make or break him. Right? This very well could define the rest of Brett Veach's career as general manager of the Kansas City Chiefs. I know that he is always going to be praised for Patrick Mahomes. But that trade at that time, you're going, man, if the Chiefs don't get back, you might circle that and go, that's when the dynasty died, was trading away Tyreek Hill. All they've done since then is go to 3 consecutive Super Bowls. And correct me if I'm wrong, Dylan, Tyreek Hill doesn't even have a postseason win in Miami. And Tyreek Hill's put up some big numbers in Miami.
The next postseason win in Miami will be the first one in a long time, I think. You have to go past Matt Moore in that game where he barely made it off the field.
Got knocked out in Pittsburgh. But
because they didn't obviously win that game. It's been a minute.
They got smoked in that game, and they got smoked against Kansas City last year. And that's not to take a shot at Tyreek Hill because he got paid. He put up huge numbers.
It's close to becoming the Herschel Walker trade.
Might be.
It's very close.
Because the Chiefs got a boatload of picks. Yeah. A boatload of picks, and they hit on a hell of a lot of them. That's just the reality of it. And I think that's the remarkable thing about this dynastic run, because I think for 90% of the NFL, you make a trade like that, there's no way you get back to the Super Bowl, win 2, and have a chance to three-peat without a guy who's going to be a Hall of Famer. But the way you do that is hitting on 70% of the draft picks. I mean, hitting on Trent McDuffie, hitting on George Karlaftis, hitting on Jalen Watson, even hitting on Mike Dana, 5th rounder in COVID year out of Michigan. Like just having guys that can be on your defense for 5-6 years, or offensively, you hit on Rashee Rice, you hit on Worthy, you hit on Pacheco. There's going to be misses. Everybody has misses. But that's why we're talking about a dynasty. That's why we're talking about a three-peat. They're not buying everybody up. They can't. The salary cap prevents them from doing that. They've had to let guys walk. And you go, how in the world are they letting that guy walk? And what happens? The Chiefs are usually the winner in that situation. L'Jarius Sneed, number 1 cornerback for the Chiefs last year. And you felt like, man, they need to pay him. Need to keep that secondary intact so that Trent McDuffie can stay in the slot and Jalen Watson can go opposite of L'Jarius Sneed. No, they trade him to Tennessee. And Tennessee's got the number 1 overall pick this year, and Sneed didn't do much. And the Chiefs get a high draft pick in the later rounds because of that.
And we got DeAndre Hopkins.
And you got DeAndre Hopkins.
Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Which I'm sure was, helped by the fact that we gave them, or didn't give them,
absolutely.
But we're willing to work with them on a legit.
You had the previous discussions. Yeah. And few teams have the ability to do that. And I feel like I've said this before, few teams have the perfection when it comes to quarterback, coach, and general manager. All 3 on the same page, all elite at what they do. They are assembled well, even when they deal with injuries. They constantly have guys step up. They just do. Justin Watson tonight, 2-point conversion. That's the only play he made. But Justin Watson was a guy that was let go in Tampa Bay when Tom Brady was there. Chiefs said, you know what? We'll pick him up. We think he can have some big-time moments. And he's still here years later. You wouldn't think anything of it, but the Chiefs now make moves like that. They draft guys late in the first round, or they trade up for a guy, and you go, I wasn't really thinking about that guy. He wasn't on my radar, but they almost always work out. They really do. He's had misses. Brett Veach has had misses, and I know we'll hear from him a little bit later on in the show tonight. But, man, a part of having a dynasty is knowing when to let guys walk, striking at the right time, and hitting on a lot of draft picks. The Patriots were the best, it felt like, on knowing when to let guys walk. And somebody was always waiting in line to take that spot and almost always thrived. In Kansas City, you are seeing the exact same thing now. Okay, we're going to take a quick break here. You're listening to the Red and Gold Postgame Show, which is brought to you by Boda Box Wine. Kick your tailgate party up a notch this football season with Boda Box, the ultimate tailgate wine. Boda Box, this is how we Boda. Please drink responsibly. Sponsored by Boda Box Vineyards, Manteca, California. When we come back, I think we're going to have our locker room report. We've had tons of interviews with Steven St. John, so we'll get to those next on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
Mark's not just a business colleague. He's one of my good friends, and I lean on him a lot off the field. And Mark and his staff are tremendous, and obviously our coaching staff. I mean, everyone talks about it, but it's truly deserved for how great they are. Coach Reid and his staff, and Coach Spags and his staff, and what a great job by Coach right off the bat there on that fourth down going for it. I mean, you knew this was a game that you're going to have to really score points to beat this team. I mean, this is a phenomenal football team. So, he knew the dynamics of the game, and that's why he's a first ballot Hall of Famer. My personnel staff, can't thank them enough for all the hard work they do off the field, and most of them are tremendous fan base. I joke with my staff. I mean, this game, I know it was a tight game. I know it came right down the end, but this game was won on Christmas Day when we beat Pittsburgh and we got home field advantage. Because I think when you have two teams like this playing against each other, it really just comes down to who has the home field advantage and who's going to get one pivotal stop. So very fortunate and thankful and blessed to have this game at home, and that was a difference. So certainly thank the Chiefs Kingdom for all their support. And had this game been played anywhere else, I don't know if the outcome would have been the same. So being at home and having that fan base was, I think, really the deciding factor. So with that, I'll take the questions.
Very intentional tonight, wanting to go up, trade with the Bills, and get Xavier Worthy. You talked about that coming into the game. I guess as you reflect, what does that mean to what this year has been and will build toward the Super Bowl? Yeah, I
mean, he's a great player, and the Bills have a great staff. I mean, that's one of the best football teams in the NFL, and a lot of people make it out like, the Bills didn't want them. And I mean, listen, they know what they're doing. They're a really good football team, and they beat us early in the season, and that was one of the best football teams out there. So, but look, we stick to our board, and we have a plan, and we believe in it, and we don't really second guess ourselves. And Xavier was a guy that we really loved and we were passionate about, and we were fortunate to go up there and get him. And like I said, the Bills they were on their own agenda, and they've done a great job of putting together a really good team. And so happy for Xavier. I know personally those guys, they know where they could have went, and I know he's happy to be here and excited to be here. But he's a great player. He's only going to get better. Coach talked about it just like Rasheed last year. After that week 10, 11, 12, I mean, he just took off, and he's really good, and the sky's the limit for him. Yeah, I mean, he's goes back to just his awareness as a player, and he knows the situations, and he knows games where our defense is going to thrive, and a certain amount of points will be enough. But I mean, listen, we all knew that. I joked with my family before the game. I said the first one of 35 wins this game, and God, when it was 29-32, I was so nervous because I was like, God, I hope I'm not right, because they had the ball there at the end. I'm like, oh my God, they're going to score 35 points there. But Pat knew the situation. Our coaching staff knew the situation. Like I said, I go back to that fourth down and one. Like, you had to steal possessions and you had to score points against these guys, because you're not going to punt the ball, and they're not going to go 3 and out a lot. We got the stops when we need it, and that's why Spags is great, and that's why he's the best at what he does. But timely stops in situational football. That's why this team is so successful, because we really thrive in those situations.
Brad, all the injuries earlier in the year, you could have pushed your chips all in on this year at the expense of future years. Do you sort of feel vindicated with the moves you did make and the moves you didn't make, that by getting to another Super Bowl here?
I don't necessarily know if we feel vindicated. I think we're always aggressive, and it goes back to the leadership of Clark. I mean, Clark does a great job of keeping. I'm super aggressive, and that could be dangerous, and so having Clark's leadership and guidance is a blessing, and it's that kind of great balance where he gives me the green light when he feels like it's appropriate, but at the same time, I mean, we try to be smart and very decisive in what we do. But at the same time, I mean, we have a good group here, and we plan to be successful for a long time. And we just have to be smart, and it's that delicate balance of being disciplined and aggressive. There is a fine balance, and that's why it's a complete group effort between my staff and Clark and the coaching staff.
Last two will go by and then Todd. Go ahead, by.
Brad, as you went through the season, a long period of winning sort of crazy and close games at times. What gave you faith that that was building something instead of maybe something worrisome?
Well, I think that's kind of been the blueprint over the last few years. I think when you win so much in this league, you line up every week and you're getting teams' best shot week after week. And, we're not. I think everybody, when they play us and they come to Arrowhead or we go to their stadium, it's kind of like a litmus test for where their organization is. Okay, we're playing the Chiefs. How good are we? Well, now we'll see. And, so we're getting their best every week, even when we're not at our best. And I think that kind of builds character and it builds, toughness. And, we're going to see, the best that teams have to offer week in and week out. And so when we do get to the playoffs, we're going to be mentally challenged and mentally hardened to a degree that when we get into these situations, our guys aren't going to flinch, and I think you see that time after time.
Tom, you guys had to cut ties with Kareem back in 2018. Came full circle. It's been such a big part of what you've done here. What your feelings are for him and how happy you are for him?
Yeah, so excited. There's a kid that obviously it was a tough situation years ago. But the kid has grown and learned, and he's so grateful to be here, and we're so grateful to have him. It's really a blessing for this to come full circle, and for him to be out of this organization. And he did some great things with Cleveland, but it's always special to come full circle and to see him and the way he has grown and developed as a person, both on and off the field, is great. And I'm so happy for him, and he's been so critical to our success. And he's a phenomenal football player, and like I said, I'm just blessed that it worked out and that he's back here, and hopefully we'll have continued success with him.
Thanks, Brett.
Yep, thank you guys.
All right, that was Brett Veach after the game. Lots of great stuff there, and talked a little bit about Worthy. One thing that I waited a little bit too long to bring up because it was a huge part of the game. Just little moves that he made throughout the season. We'll be hearing from DeAndre Hopkins here shortly, but Juju Smith-Schuster, fun stat that I wanted to bring up. Going back to November 29th, Juju had 60 total yards receiving in 6 games. 2 of those games, he did not have a catch. So you go to November 29th, and I believe, yes, it was the Raiders game. He had 1 catch for 10 yards. So then he played the Chargers, Browns, Texans, Steelers, Broncos, Houston, and Buffalo. So 60 total yards from November 29th to tonight. And he goes 2 catches for 60 yards. Hey, bringing him back on a 1-year deal, it's all worth it after a performance like tonight. A catch of 31, and a catch and run of 29. Just little moves like that. Because he fits the scheme, he's a good blocker, he knows the playbook. Brett Veach making little moves like that, it's why you just always see the Kansas City Chiefs in the Super Bowl representing the AFC. Speaking of another move he made in season, DeAndre Hopkins, who finally has gotten that chance to get to the Super Bowl. I'd imagine that when he was in Tennessee and the Titans stopped winning football games, he was wondering at his age if he would ever get an opportunity again. Now he's got that opportunity. Here is DeAndre Hopkins after the game with Todd Lebo.
Went to Arizona. We started off hot a couple times and, then got traded to Tennessee and, didn't get the results. But I got to thank Miss Amy, Chad, and Rand for allowing me to be over here and trading me to his organization.
Talk about the trade specifically. You're coming into a new organization. What about that experience and then fast-forwarding every single week, getting the biggest bullets from every opponent, knowing the target is on your back, even though you just got here, and now getting to one step away from the promised land?
I knew I still had a target on my back, even though I'm, considered, washed up by many, 12-year vet. But, guys still, the safety still cheat my way. I don't get a lot of one-on-ones. So, guys who play football still know. And if I go out and have one target or zero target, if I'm still able to impact the game, I feel like I did my job. And if not, I'm fine with that. We got a lot of playmakers on this team, man. So we can win in so many ways, which is beautiful. But to get traded and to come in and try to learn the playbook overnight, it was tough. But this organization and these coaches, they're here for a reason. They know how to prepare guys to be their best.
Is it one of these feelings that you wish that there was no break in between this game and the Super Bowl, and you wanted to get here tomorrow?
Man, I need a break. But obviously, just riding this feeling is going to be great. We're going up against a great team in Philadelphia. So I think we need to rest up. Some guys probably got banged up today. And get ready for that big game.
All right, well, congratulations, brother.
I appreciate it.
DeAndre, all the teams have the same goal, right? You've been in a lot of different locker rooms with different organizations. Did it feel different here when you got here than it felt in some other places?
Of course. These guys, I never went anywhere where they were coming off a Super Bowl, so I don't think I need to get into too much explaining, but these guys came off 2 Super Bowls, man.
And the expectation here is this is it. I mean, this is the expectation. You felt that right when you got here?
Of course. From the first practice to today. Since I came in the building, how everyone prepared, how the trainers treat people from the strength program, everything. It's top notch.
What's it say about a team that goes 11-0 and wins 4 games?
Man, it means we're a team that deserves to be in the Super Bowl. That's what we are. We play to the last second. We don't give up. A lot of competitors, man. It says a lot about a team like that.
Is Patrick as advertised? Is he about what you thought, or is he better than you thought? Any impressions?
Yeah, he's the best player I ever played with. So I played with J.J. Watt. J.J. Watt is definitely a Hall of Famer, but Pat is one of the best. He's the best player I played with. So I don't think I really need to say much about that.
All right, that was DeAndre Hopkins. Got to feel great for him because he was probably seen in what would you say, Dylan? Late 2010s as a top 3 receiver in the game. I think you could make that case. He just was on teams that didn't make it very far.
Was it 2018 that he made that catch against Pittsburgh on like a Thursday night game?
I think it was.
The end zone. I mean, it wasn't that far ago.
He was ridiculous in Houston.
Doing stuff like that, yeah.
And he still was good in Arizona. Tennessee, he just never really got to play with a great quarterback. And in Kansas City, it's not like he's become the old DeAndre Hopkins again. He's had some big-time moments and won some games for Kansas City. But just to have the opportunity, you got to feel great for guys like him because there's been so many in this league that were great players and just never were on great teams. Put up big-time numbers. Might have been the best at their position, but it didn't necessarily mean they got to a Super Bowl. And it's harder for receivers to do that because sometimes you just don't have the quarterback that can take you. We ridicule quarterbacks for not being able to do it because it just feels like they're the one with the keys to everything, right? We judge quarterbacks based on their postseason success. We do it all the time with Mahomes, Allen, and Jackson. Lamar Jackson gets a lot of heat for not winning the big game. Josh Allen now gets a lot of heat for winning the big game. But they're still going to have a lot of opportunities. Sometimes when you're a receiver, you might have that great season, and the next year you lose that quarterback you were great with. Happened a lot to DeAndre Hopkins. I mean, truly, if you still play fantasy football and you can recall back to then, he was a big-time point getter. Now, in the final stages of his career, it feels like it's awesome to see him get this opportunity to go play in a Super Bowl. Tonight, he did have a catch for a first down. He has been relatively quiet over the last few games, but just being out there, being a threat in some way, shape, and form, it has helped Kansas City's offense in trying to replace that production that Rashee Rice left. But everybody's been stepping up. We talked about Worthy. We haven't talked enough tonight about Hollywood Brown. We'll get to him at some point in the show. We'll probably hear from him as well. But DeAndre Hopkins, so great for him to get to play in a Super Bowl at this point in his career. Now let's get to 2 pieces of interviews from Trey Smith, one from on the field and one from the locker room. Let's start it off with Steven St. John on the field with Trey Smith.
back to the Super Bowl. You got a chance for that three-peat. What's that mean to you?
It means the world, man. I'm just really excited about the opportunity to make history, and just not looking too far ahead. Just want to be right in the moment.
How physical was that game compared to these other games against Buffalo, man?
Physical as hell. Yeah, you got to give Buffalo credit where credit's due. They're a great team, phenomenal organization, and players played hard tonight.
All right, man.
All right, short and sweet there from Trey Smith with Steven St. John. Not quite on the field, but still there in the locker room. You can hear maybe it was on the field. I don't know. Maybe it was when everybody cleared out in the stadium. You could still hear the music pumping from the locker room. Now let's get to that piece of audio from Trey Smith in the locker room after the game. This should be with our very own Todd Lebo.
I think Patrick Mahomes is the best football player I've ever been around. He's the best quarterback ever. Just in terms of his leader, I mean, he's always had those incredible characteristics. You know, a guy that's always going to compete, he's never going to give up, and just going to keep fighting. And, I mean, it's on display tonight, the way he was using his legs to get those extra yards and making plays when needed. So,
Trey, when you guys have won games like this all season, how much did those games earlier in the year make it that you knew you had that extra gear here?
Yeah, I mean, just being tested like that at times and just being able to respond the right way and just be able to win and just keep fighting, keep attacking no matter how bleak the situation is. You know, we just focus on the next play and just try to be your best. Our coaches do a great job putting us in the right position to win. And just going out there and executing at a high level is tough to do week in, week out in this league. I mean, there's a lot of parity, but we keep finding a way.
And when you were doing that all along, does that, I mean, inside you guys know what you got, right? I mean,
yeah, we got that dog in us. Yeah, we know.
And so, what was the term you used?
My bad, man.
What was the term you used?
That dog in us, man.
Dog in us.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys know something about yourselves that maybe other people don't. Today's a good chance to prove that, I guess. But is that how you see it too?
I just think, man, we don't listen to any outside noise. We just come out and do our job every day and just try to go ball and play the best of our abilities. We have some of the best coaches in the NFL pretty consistently year in, year out, and they put us in great positions to win games. And, you know, as players, we had to step up and make the plays. And, you know, the more you can do that, the more chance you have to win the game. And I just think we just can't look too far ahead and just focus on every single play at a time.
What's it like just coming off the field today? That's the last thing.
Glorious.
How so?
Seeing my family, man, the confetti, I took a moment just to look at the confetti. I mean, that's like going to be burned into my mind until I hit the grave. You know what I mean? It's a special moment, man. It's a beautiful thing, and just blessed and fortunate to have experienced it, 3 times in a row now.
What breed of dog is in there?
Maybe a little Cane Corso, Rottweiler. Any type of dog that can sort of get after a little bit. You get a little Yorkie, Chihuahua. Chihuahuas can be a little snappy, so, we got it in us.
Trey, on the other side of this, the Bills have come close. I mean, you guys have a lot of respect for them. Can you imagine what they're going through? They can't get over this hump?
I don't want to imagine that. I want to say this, the Bills organization, nothing but the utmost respect for a lot of players on that team, their coaching staff. I mean, they play the game the right way. They play the game physically and fast. Hats off to them the way they played tonight. Nothing but the utmost respect to them as competitors. That's a great team. It's a great organization. And, I just want to give them their credit where credit's due. I mean, they are a hell of a team.
All right, and that was Trey Smith after the AFC title game in which he helped the Chiefs get to a 32-29 win over the Buffalo Bills. That's been your Locker Room Report, brought to you by Twin Peaks.
The Chiefs Locker Room Report is brought to you by Twin Peaks. No one does football like Twin Peaks. Whatever your preference, they have everything from tequila cocktails and an extensive bourbon category to top shelf spirits and cocktails served over ice balls. Local craft beers and handcrafted whiskey cocktails round out an adventurous drink menu, second to none. And don't forget about their 29-degree man-sized drafts at Twin Peaks.
All right, we're going to take a break here. When we come back, still a few players to hear from. We'll get some audio from Mike Pennell, Hollywood Brown, Nico Remigio, who made his impact felt on a punt return earlier in the game, set up another scoring drive for the Kansas City Chiefs. And, of course, we're going to hear from Travis Kelce. Not as big of a performance that he had in the divisional round game against the Houston Texans, but he's heading back to the Super Bowl where I imagine a lot of people will be taking the over on receiving yards for him because why not? Seems to show up when it matters most. That's coming up on the Red and Gold Postgame Show on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Boda is the premium boxed wine that wins with wine critics. Boda, this is how we Boda. Please drink responsibly. Sponsored by Boda Vineyards, Manteca, California. Still a few players to get to. We got lots of audio coming our way from our very own Steven St. John and Todd Lebo. We just recently heard from DeAndre Hopkins and Trey Smith. Hopkins, feel great for him. 12 years in the league, his first chance to get to a Super Bowl. Who knows what some of those prop bets will be in the Super Bowl, and I'm very curious of DeAndre Hopkins and what those odds will be for maybe an anytime touchdown in that game. But if you missed any of it, you can always go back afterwards when the show is posted on the podcast page, and you can scroll through to about the, hour and a half, 2 hour mark of the show, and you would hear DeAndre Hopkins then. But we're also going to be hearing from Mike Pennell, Hollywood Brown, Nico Remigio, and Travis Kelce. So let's start things off here with Mike Pennell after the AFC title game against Buffalo.
So much talk about their running quarterback. What did you think about the way your quarterback was able to use
Hey, listen, man. Patrick Mahomes, sometimes in the playoffs he gets to be Pat Vick or Patrick McNabb. You know what I mean? It's good to see, man. You know, it's just a competitor he is. You know what to expect from him, and ready to do it again.
Thanks, Mark. Appreciate it.
What does it mean to you to go back and have a chance to chase that three-peat? Absolutely everything, man. You know, being with these guys in here, you know, even being here for the first one and seeing how things are turning out now, seeing these players develop and become, you know, the athletes that they are and the careers that they're having, man, it's awesome. It means everything. You know, you guys were doubted by people nationwide, people talking about the officiating, this and that. What's it mean to shut those people up and still go out there and win in the championship game and show what you guys really are, champions? We don't even listen to that noise, man. Even last year, coming to this year, we don't listen if we're favorite or we're not favorite. We know what we got in this locker room. We know the players we got. And we all know it's our confidence is high because our preparation is, you know, at another level around here. So we don't hear none of that noise, man. We're just playing football. What did it take to get you guys got a couple of stops, the fourth down stop and then that last stop when you forced incompletion, and that set up the win. Yeah. Tell me, how were you able to get that stop against Josh Allen, that offense, when you guys needed it the most in the fourth quarter? Just being as collective as a defense, man. You know, our DBs, our linebackers, our D tackles, and our DNs, we're all playing together. Everybody had a discussion before we went out on that last drive, and the results weren't shocking to anyone in this locker room.
With everything that the Bills trying to do to keep the ball in Josh's hands, just how much of the film study was helping you guys on those fourth and shorts and even the 2-point conversion that they failed? Critical.
But we have the coaches and, you know, and the assistant coaches that harp on that. You know, we all stay in the film room. We all have a key and clear understanding of the game plan before we go into the game. So we're able to play free, man. I just blame that on preparation of the coaches, man.
All right, that was Mike Pennell. Heard a couple questions there from Steven St. John. We'll probably be wrapping up here in the next hour or two, so it won't be too long till you have to hear from Steven St. John, get his thoughts on the AFC title game between the Chiefs and the Bills. A few more players to get to here. We're now going to go to Hollywood Brown. Had 2 catches on the opening drive. Those were the first 2 plays the Chiefs had designed. It was a phenomenal opening script. I mean, I don't think there has been a better drive all season long by Kansas City than what we saw on their first series. I mean, they got everything they wanted to, and Hollywood Brown was the guy that got things going. Here is Hollywood Brown after the game.
Yeah, man, it's a big difference. I mean, every play is need all 11 guys. You know, you can't never think, oh, the play not coming my way, or, you know, you're not needed in that play. Everyone's vital to every play.
With playing with him, I mean, obviously this was the dream going in, but what's it like, man, just to know that season's on the line, you give the ball to Pat, and you guys actually go out and win the game?
Man, I mean, it was no waiver. Like, nobody even batted an eye. You know, we got a chance, and we got 15. You know, we're going to find a way to get it done.
When that clock hit 0 and you knew you were going to the Super Bowl, what was going through your mind?
Oh, man, I was just so happy, man, so happy, so blessed, just thanking the man above.
How, like right now, when you think about your journey in football and growing up, this is every kid's dream, right? Going to the Super Bowl, and it's happening for you right now. You got 2 weeks, and just tell me, you know, what this is like for you to be experiencing this right now.
And definitely, I mean, you know, my career has been, you know, up and down, got hurt, you know, and just to come back and be able to make it to a Super Bowl and get a chance to go for a 3-peat, it's just been a blessing, man. I can't thank God enough. Thank my teammates, you know, coaching staff, you know, we all in this together.
This is your best game statistically of the season, Hollywood. How much of what you have been doing over the last month sort of led to this, and what gave you the confidence that you could have a good, you know, pretty big game today?
You know, I really just trust the coaches. You know, whatever they ask of me, I go out there and do it. and made plays today. And just be ready when your number called, really.
Do you think they were focusing too much on Travis early, and that got you open, got Xavier, got Juju going?
I mean, you got to focus on Trav. I mean, if you don't focus on him, I mean, you kind of doing your team a disservice. So we know, me and Xavier know, like, we got to make plays. We're the energy. So, we go out there and we pride ourselves in that.
Was that crowd, that electricity in the crowd, was that anything like you've experienced before in your career?
Nah, ain't nothing like this.
How do you describe it, being on the field for that?
It's just, this is what we want to dream of as a kid. Like, this is what you dream of. This is what you want to be a part of. And, it's a blessing to be a part of it.
Congratulations.
All right, that was Hollywood Brown after the game. Like I said, 2 great catches on the opening drive. Then had another catch and run later on. I believe that was in the third quarter, if I'm not mistaken. So a much better showing than what he had last week against the Texans, when the only ball that he was targeted on was one that fell incomplete. So got involved very early on and still was making plays in the second half. Now we're going to hear from Travis Kelce. I wanted to bring this up at some point in the show, but if you can remember back to Week 11 in Buffalo, when Patrick Mahomes threw that final interception, the crowd's going crazy at Highmark Stadium, and the camera captures Travis Kelce walking back to the sideline. He's just clapping. He's just clapping as if to say, this is a great game, but we plan on seeing you again. Maybe I read into it a little bit too much. Maybe he was just applauding it and saying, okay, well, that was a great catch. Let's move on. It's a regular season game. That's our first loss of the year. We're not thinking too much about it. Obviously disappointed, but they knew that down the road, these two teams could meet again. And I don't know why that image stuck in my mind, and it was almost the first thing I thought about when this game was iced of, Kansas City just knows that those regular season meetings, it may mean a lot to the opponent they're playing, but the Chiefs put a lot of focus on games like this. Not saying Buffalo did not, but I think Travis Kelce felt like we're going to see these guys again, and we're going to be on the winning side of things in the next go-around, which they were, 32-29 over the Buffalo Bills. I believe we still have Nico Remigio, if I'm not mistaken, here. We also have Matt Derrick coming up here in about 9 minutes here. Actually, yeah, I said Nico Remigio when I was teeing up Travis Kelce. That's my bad, Dylan. So Travis Kelce, here was his thoughts after the game tonight.
You said you wanted this one bad. How's it feel now that you got it? You guys got it, and you have a chance to get that 3-peat.
Man, I'll tell you what, man, there's nothing better than playing in front of Arrowhead for an AFC Championship, man. They had that thing rocking, and more than ever, and we needed them more than ever, man. That Buffalo team was as good as we've ever played, and a lot of great competitors over there. I got a lot of respect for those guys, man. They made it hard.
Came right down to the wire, and you guys, the crowd was electric. How does this compare to the other championship game wins you've had here, considering Buffalo was so good and it was such a close game?
Yeah, man, I'm very thankful that I'm here in Kansas City, playing with the guys and everybody in this building, man. It's a special place, and we feel that every single day, and we just try to take advantage of it and not let it slip out of our hands, man.
It was almost a year ago that you guys called your shot, saying you wanted the 3-peat. What does it mean to now actually get the shot?
It's a new feeling right now, but I'm just excited, man. I'm very happy for the guys that are doing this for the first time, trying to make it everything for them. But I know there's bigger fish to fry, and that's the Philadelphia Eagles down there in New Orleans.
Did you feel like, Travis, your presence opened things up for Hollywood, Xavier, Juju?
Listen, we were out there. Everybody was doing their job today, and that's why we put up so many points. That's why we scored touchdowns today. 1-5 was playing the best that he's played all year, and that's what you want to see going into into your last games or going into the end of the year. Is everybody playing their best ball? I love this defense, man. In Spags, we trust, and we've always trusted him, and everybody that plays under him. They're so sound, and they play their tails off, and they throw their heart out there on the field every single week, all the way until the end. And you saw that tonight.
Hey, Travis, what do you say to all of the detractors? It seems like a lot of momentum, people jealous, hating on the Chiefs. Do you feel any of that? Does that give you motivation, this team?
No, man. The only thing that matters to me is everything in this building and the guys and the girls that we have that we go to work with every single week. All that other stuff is just outside noise, man.
Yeah. Pat's never had 2 touchdowns in a game until tonight. How you seem to do what needs to be done when it's in the moment?
whatever he's got to do to get us to the next level or to win the game, Pat's going to do it. And that's whether if it's putting his body on the line or giving it to somebody else for them to do it. That's why he's the ultimate competitor.
But this fifth Super Bowl in 6 seasons coming up for you guys. Did you ever dream of that coming in as a rookie?
I mean, yeah, we could dream of it. Living it is still a crazy reality, man. And I'm so thankful that I landed here in KC.
You weren't flopping. You weren't flopping were you at that little skirmish in the end zone?
A flop? I mean, he hit me in the head. I flared my arms up though. Yeah. I don't think the refs needed it, but just in case they did.
What would it mean for you in this franchise if you got the 3-peat? Now that you're this close, what would it mean to you?
I'll let you know if we get it. Yeah.
How do you turn around from the excitement of winning an AFC title to getting ready these next 2
Oh, we get right back to work. Like I said, we got bigger goals, and we got a hell of a football team over there in the NFC that's playing just as good as anybody that we've seen. So and we know they're going to have a sour taste in their mouth from the last time we played them in the Super Bowl. And you know, that being said, man, we got to go to work. We got to go to work and make sure we're ready to handle them.
Thanks, guys.
Have a good one, guys. Congrats, man.
All right, that was Travis Kelce going back to yet another Super Bowl and yet another rematch with the Philadelphia Eagles. They've had 2 Super Bowls against San Francisco and now soon to be 2 Super Bowls against Philadelphia. Game will mean a lot once again, not just for Travis Kelce, but for Andy Reid. You heard from him a little bit earlier on in the show, and I'm sure even as early as tomorrow, you're going to hear again from Andy Reid. But we'll see how often the Chiefs go to the podium this week and the next. Probably going to be a lot because there's going to be a lot of media coverage right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. And a reminder that you are tuned in to the Red and Gold Postgame Show, which is brought to you by Boda Box Wine. Kick your tailgate party up a notch this football season with Boda Box, the ultimate tailgate wine. Boda Box is the premium boxed wine that wins with wine critics. Boda Box, this is how we Boda. Please drink responsibly. Sponsored by Boda Box Vineyards, Manteca, California. Going to take a quick break. When we come back, we will talk with our guy, Matt Derrick of ChiefsDigest.com. He's coming up on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Call does it all. Now we're going to hop back on the phone lines and hear from our guy Matt Derrick of ChiefsDigest.com, and he's brought to you by Cap One Lending. The Freedom Loan at Cap One Lending is the exclusive loan that helps you pay your home off in less than half the time and gives you access to your home's equity without having to refinance. Go to CapOneLending.com. Well, Matt, once again, the Kansas City Chiefs are heading back to the Super Bowl, and once again, it was another thriller with the Buffalo Bills in the postseason, but it's Patrick Mahomes going to 4-0 over Josh Allen. Matt, we had a really good question from a caller a while back now, but he asked about how you define the legacy of the Buffalo Bills and if you need to change anything, and if so, what needs to be changed to actually get past the Kansas City Chiefs, because it felt like all season long it was leading to this point. The Bills were going to be the team of destiny, but once again, they fall short.
Gosh, I don't know what the Bills could possibly do. I mean, other than go back in time and don't trade with the Chiefs in 2017. I mean, because I don't think Sean McDermott's a bad coach. And I thought that he was outcoached today. I think Andy Reid outcoached him. I thought that McDermott got just a little too aggressive. I mean, I think there's some aggression for sure, and in today's day and age, the analytics will probably say you need to be more aggressive than not. But I thought that the aggression today kind of killed him a couple of times, momentum-wise. Certainly cost him a couple of points here and there. But you know what? I mean, if you get rid of Sean McDermott, 85% chance the next guy's not going to be as good. So I just don't know what you do if you're the Buffalo Bills. I mean, it's not completely dissimilar to back in the 90s when they went to 4 straight Super Bowls. Marv Levy was a great coach. I mean, sometimes you just run into guys who are better than you and just have bad luck. I don't think there's anything. I don't know what the Buffalo Bills could do any differently than just wish that Patrick Mahomes didn't exist.
Now, Matt, it was a talking point all season long. The Chiefs couldn't blow anybody out. They didn't have any style points. They couldn't score over 30. But as they did last year, it felt like their offense was just clicking at the right time. And tonight, it would be hard to find another game that looked as good as they did offensively against Buffalo. What did you see out there? What led to such a polished-looking offense? They even fumbled in the red zone, so you could be talking about maybe getting closer to 40 points in this one. But the offense looked like the old version of the Chiefs where they pretty much got whatever they wanted.
Yeah, it really did. I mean, it felt like that they were pretty much able to just dictate terms most of the night. Really, I think the only disappointing drive was obviously the one coming out of the second half. At the very beginning, you'd like to have a little bit more oomph on that one and get some points out of that drive. But other than that, everything was very steady, very efficient. That first drive was just deadly precision. It was just absolutely perfect, no notes whatsoever. I think Mahomes was 4 of 4 on that drive for 61 yards. They ran the football well. And that, to me, I mean, was really just kind of set the tone for the entire game. I mean, Mahomes was obviously, on fire. I mean, he could pretty much, it seemed like, put the ball where he wanted to. He had a couple of throws that, I mean, even a couple of his incompletions were just like, he put the ball exactly where it needed to be, and if the receiver couldn't make a great catch, I mean, that happens. But his just will, and that was, I think, one of the common threads throughout the post-game press conferences and discussions in the locker room was just, Andy Reid trusts this offense. Andy Reid trusts that this team could do what they did tonight, that you just put them in the right place, give the right plays, put them in the right situations, and they'll execute and make it work. And tonight, that's exactly what they did.
One of the biggest reasons why this offense was clicking was yet another big-time game for Xavier Worthy. Over 100 total yards of offense in this one, and it feels a little extra sweeter knowing that Buffalo is the reason why the Chiefs were able to take Xavier Worthy last year in the draft. What type of growth have you seen from him now over the last handful of games, now playing his best football when it matters most? But there was a time, Matt, as you know, in coming on this show where we couldn't really figure out why him and Patrick Mahomes weren't on the same page, but he was thrust into a top wide receiver role when he was drafted as a number 3, number 4 for this offense. But now he truly is playing like a number 1, number 2 wide receiver. What changes have you seen from him over the last few weeks or so?
Yeah, I think one for sure, his confidence is so much higher now than it was earlier in the season. I don't think he ever got his head down, really. I mean, I don't think he was ever in that kind of a situation where he was lost or confused. But I think he was kind of just still feeling his way through things early in the season. Now, he seems to be very confident, especially with his movements. He had that catch that he out on the right side today where, he just absolutely put a great route and got the ball in his hands and then made a guy miss. And, he's got that confidence now that he can make those plays, that he can get those things done. And, I think part of it is that, too, that the Chiefs are using him as he needs to be used. Early in the season, I felt like that, they were kind of maybe forcing him to be the deep threat guy. And not that he can't do that, but I don't think that's really how you build confidence for a young receiver. You build confidence in a young receiver by giving them the kind of plays you saw tonight, getting him the ball in space, getting him out on the edges with a full head of steam and letting him make people miss and do what he does. And he had a deep ball tonight that they threw to him that trusted him to go up and get it. And that's probably one of the skills that I think we really underestimated with him is just his body control and his ability to go get a football. He's probably learned a lot from DeAndre Hopkins, too, because maybe he wouldn't have made that catch. It was kind of simultaneous possession, but, he fought for the football. He high-pointed it so well. I mean, that was a veteran play. That wasn't just something that a rookie does. And I think you're just seeing that, he's getting more and more confident. And the great thing for the Chiefs is it's not cockiness. I mean, obviously he's confident, but he's backing it up. So it's not just like he's not getting too big for his britches. Let's put it that way.
We're talking with Matt Derrick of ChiefsDigest.com here on the Red and Gold Postgame Show. One of the controversial plays in this game was that 4th and 1 quarterback sneak by Josh Allen. They ruled him short. They went to review it, and the play stood with the call on the field. What were you thinking in that moment? Do you feel like Josh Allen got the line of gain? Do you think it was too close to call there? What did you see on that 4th down sneak?
I mean, I was watching it through my binoculars, and I thought live he did not get the line. I mean, that was my first call was just that he was short. And even on the replays, I mean, I still thought that he was short. I don't think there was anything that conclusively showed that he got it. And, the Chiefs were close a couple of times. Obviously they had the one where I don't know if Tranquil knocked the ball out of, Josh Allen's hands for sure, but that they ruled it a fumble on the field recovered by Josh Allen. I mean, there was a couple of times that, Josh put the kind of ball in a dangerous position on some of those 4th and 1 sneaks and quarterback runs. I thought the officials got it right. I mean, I know there's a lot of controversy on that one, but I thought they got it right on the field, and I didn't see anything conclusively replay-wise that could possibly overturn that.
Now, sticking with the defense here, the play of the game was Josh Allen's final throw of the 2024-2025 season. Spags dialing up a blitz at the right time. I don't know, Matt. I don't know if I've seen a better executed call at a spot like that really since Spags has been here. The guts it took on that play, everybody being able to execute it, but then, a guy like Dalton Kincaid nearly pulling off a miracle catch at that point in the game. Did you expect Spags to go with an all-out blitz there? Because it certainly worked to perfection.
I mean, I think we're all expecting a blitz, right? I mean, there was no doubt that's what Spagnuolo was going to do at that spot. Didn't necessarily expect him bring in, 3 defensive backs? I mean, I know it was Cook, it was Justin Reid, Trent McDuffie. Who else was in there? I'm probably blanking on who else was in that blitz right now. But, I mean, it was – what I thought was interesting is that talking to some of the guys in the locker room after the game was that they all knew – I mean, they were the same way. They all knew that Spags was going to call a blitz. And I know Jalen Watson, I think, told me that he was like, yeah, I thought it was going to be one of 3 plays, and that was one of the 3. Karlaftis thought that they might call a more aggressive one, that maybe it wasn't as aggressive as he thought it was going to be, that he thought they might have an even more exotic blitz. But there was a couple of guys who were like, yeah, this was the call that they were hoping for. But that just once again goes back to not only, how good Spags is with this, but just how they work on it during the week for these situations. they were prepared for it. So that those 11 guys on the field pretty much knew at 4th and 5 what they were going to be asked to do, because they've been talking about it during the week, been doing all of their prep. So, I mean, that just speaks volumes to just, how well this team is prepared, how smart they are, that they know exactly what their defensive coordinator is thinking in a situation like that.
All right, one last question for you, Matt. Really appreciate your time and hopping on the show so late. But now you look ahead to New Orleans, Chiefs and Eagles, another matchup between these teams in the Super Bowl. How do you feel like they match up on paper? I know there's still 2 weeks to go, but the Eagles you saw against the Commanders are going to be the same Eagles you see in New Orleans here in 2 weeks.
Yeah, I mean, I thought, obviously the Eagles looked really, really good today. I thought the Commanders didn't play their best football. So, I mean, the Eagles probably look better than maybe they are, but I don't mean that as disrespect whatsoever, because the Eagles are a really good team. And I thought Saquon Barkley was NFL MVP before the playoffs even started, and all he's done to me is just backed up that. Him in that offense is completely different from the team that they saw 2 years ago, the offense that they saw 2 years ago. So it's going to be a tough one. I mean, you're going to have to deal with Saquon Barkley. He is just absolutely on fire. I think at the peak of his career right now, and that's going to be the toughest thing. I mean, if the Chiefs can't stop Saquon, they're going to have a long, long night. But this should be an absolutely incredible game, because I do think I think we're lucky. I mean, I think that at the end, even though I thought the Lions were pretty good, they had a lot of injuries down at the end of the season. I think these are the 2 best teams left in the league.
All right, Matt. Well, appreciate your time as always, and we'll wait to talk to you one more time this season. We've been able to make it this far. They've played the most amount of games they could play this season. So in 2 weeks, we'll talk to you about the Super Bowl.
And we've got a rich tradition on this postgame show, Jack, of having some late night conversations after Super Bowl wins. So we need another one.
We sure do. There he goes. That's Matt Derrick of ChiefsDigest.com. He brings up some of the late interviews that we've had. Might not get much later than what we're going to have in the Super Bowl, win or lose against the Philadelphia Eagles. That's something, Dylan, I don't believe we should take for granted, is that in doing this show, for me, first time hosting the Red and Gold postgame show. You were on it last year with Josh, did a phenomenal job. And I looked at these last 2 years of you do postgame shows and you hope that you get all 20, right? And taking over this year, there were definitely points in the season, even though they kept winning, you thought, maybe we will get cut short. Maybe we do one for the AFC divisional round game or the wild card game, and that's it. But fortunately for us, for the 3rd consecutive year, 20 games. 20 games to do. And we've had one true loss really to go over, which was Buffalo. We had the shortened post-game show after the Denver game when all the backups played. And that's wild to think that they went undefeated at home. The last quarterback to beat the Chiefs at Arrowhead, Aiden O'Connell. That's the last quarterback to beat Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs at Arrowhead Stadium. They go undefeated this year, kind of taking back that feeling. There was a moment in time early on in Patrick Mahomes' career where you had a couple teams come in, win at Arrowhead, and you thought, man, is that magic really going away? I mean, this team can win and win a lot of games, but it felt like some of those teams, because of the defense that the Chiefs had put together, it just wasn't as scary anymore. Now, there's no way in hell you could say, oh, it's easy to go in there and win. Even last year, Aiden O'Connell coming in and winning that football game, you thought, man, where's that magic? Where's the fear that Arrowhead puts into its opponents? There was that fear this year. The Chiefs go undefeated at home. Now they'll head off to New Orleans to take on the Philadelphia Eagles in the Super Bowl in their quest for a three-peat. We'll take a break. When we cut, or one more thing you want to say here, Dylan?
I was about to add that we beat every team we lost to as well. By
That's
beating
correct.
the Bills, we have actually beat every single team we lost to in the process as well. So the Chiefs have won every game against every team on their schedule.
Man.
At least once.
That's just something that I feel like you can't truly comprehend until like a few years down the road. You go, man, you look back at that 2024-2025 group, what they were able to overcome injury-wise, some of the teams on the schedule they had at certain stretches of the year where it felt really daunting, and they just continued to win. And Patrick Mahomes said tonight that those close games, even against lesser opponents, they prepared them for games like tonight. They take down the Buffalo Bills 32-29. We'll take a quick break. When we come back, we'll hear from Creed Humphrey and Nico Remigio on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Your trusted, locally owned IT partner since 1985, providing IT expertise, services, and solutions to help your business grow. You can also make the right choice today by going to choicesolutions.com. Two more players we want to get to here for the Kansas City Chiefs, one an offensive lineman in Creed Humphrey. But first, we're going to kick things off with Nico Remigio, whose call you just heard right there, a big-time punt return for the Kansas City Chiefs. He's just been excellent since taking over full-time as the punt returner over McCole Hardman. Was on the practice squad the majority of the year, but now making big-time plays in the postseason. Here is Nico Remigio.
Nico, I asked you a couple of days ago what it felt like for you to be a part of this and have a chance to go out in the championship game and make an impact and make a big play. Now we're talking about you going out there making a big play, that punt return. How's that feel right now, man?
Man, it feels amazing. It feels amazing. I'm just so grateful to be here. So blessed, man. So blessed and, ultimately just thankful. Really thankful.
Take me through that punt return and how that turned out to be such a big play.
Yeah, I took a peek in the air. He was hanging the ball up there pretty well, and, I knew it was going to be tight as soon as I caught the ball, and, really I just had faith in my blockers, man. Had faith in the scheme, had faith in Coach Tobe, and, I can't thank my teammates enough, man. They made it happen.
When that clock hits 0 and you know you're going to the Super Bowl, back to the Super Bowl, what went through your mind?
And the tears started rolling.
Yeah?
The tears started rolling for sure, man. The journey's been so long, so many ups and downs, and, it just makes this moment that much more special.
The crowd, the electricity, what do you compare that to?
Nothing.
When you're out there on the field, you can hear the crowd. I guess when you're in that punt return, how do you describe that?
I've never experienced anything like that in my life, and I truly say God prepared me for this moment, and to be here, it's amazing.
How you feel about returning some kicks in the Super Bowl? You looking forward to that?
I'm all for it.
All right, congrats, my man.
Thank you, brother.
Thank you. All right.
Our very own Stephen St. John there with Nico Remigio. Yeah, hopefully another big punt return. Man of the people. And, hey, last time they faced the Eagles in the Super Bowl, it was Kadarius Toney having that game-changing punt return. Maybe we'll get one from Remigio as well. Also, real quickly, want to get to some audio from Creed Humphrey. Haven't heard from him in a while, but the best thing about Creed Humphrey for this game, you didn't hear his name a lot. Just another great performance by him. I don't believe he allowed a pressure. The only pressure that comes to mind, I know there were more on Patrick Mahomes, but Mike Caliendo getting lifted. That was Jordan Phillips, wasn't it? That basically lifted Mike Caliendo into the air and pushed him back into Patrick Mahomes on that final drive that led to the game-winning field goal by Harrison Butker. But, oof, what a rep there. But it wasn't Creed Humphrey. Creed Humphrey had a very sound night. Here was his thoughts after the game.
You guys are going back for a chance for that three-peat. I know it was hard as hell, but what's it feel like right now that you accomplished goal number 1 and get back to the Super Bowl?
Feels awesome. Just proud of the way the guys played tonight. The effort, strain, everything was there. So just proud of the way the team played. Through the good, through the bad, everything. We just stuck to it and stayed the course, and just really proud of the guys.
You went after it and you established the run. Kareem Hunt was running the ball, Pacheco. How did that feel to go out there and really run the ball effectively tonight?
Felt great. It felt really good. It was something that we definitely needed to happen for this game. They're a good defense, so just proud of how the guys came out with that mentality.
No surprise, but it looked like 15 was on another planet the way he was playing tonight.
Yeah, that's Pat for you, man. Yeah.
Last question. How much Boulevard tonight? Or do we hold that to the Super Bowl, or how do we handle the Boulevard consumption right now?
I'll probably have a couple tonight.
Just a couple, but then after the Super Bowl, then we go in.
Yeah, then Super Bowls, yeah.
Congrats, my man.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
I love that question from Steven at the very end. Couple beers tonight for Creed Humphrey. He deserves it, and everybody in the Chiefs locker room. Yeah, earned a few beers tonight. Couple of cold ones in celebrating yet another AFC title game win, a 4th playoff win over the Buffalo Bills. They'll now head to New Orleans to take on the Philadelphia Eagles for the 2nd time in the Super Bowl. What a game you were treated to tonight. Wasn't very fun watching the Eagles and Commanders early on, but Chiefs and Bills absolutely lived up to the hype. Speaking of the Bills, when we come back, we are going to get the post-game interview from Josh Allen. I know a few people out there tonight were wondering what it sounded like with Sean McDermott and Josh Allen. We decided to go with Allen's press conference, and we'll get to that next on the Red and Gold post-game show on Sports Radio 810 WHB. And he lived up to it on that first drive, was running with authority, you could say, and I believe that was a 10-yard rushing touchdown, the one. Waited for the hole to open up, though it opened up pretty quickly, and the Chiefs got on the board first, 7-0 over the Buffalo Bills. And you were tuned in to the Red and Gold Postgame Show, which is brought to you by Bodabox Wine. Kick your tailgate party up a notch this football season with Bodabox, the ultimate tailgate wine. Bodabox is the premium boxed wine that wins with wine critics. Bodabox, this is how we Boda. Please drink responsibly. Sponsored by Bodabox Vineyards, Manteca, California. We've waited long enough because I know some of you out there were curious what it sounded like in the Buffalo locker room, and probably more so at the podium, because that's where we're going to hear Josh Allen at. But another gut-wrenching, soul-crushing, rip-your-heart-out type of loss for Josh Allen. You do feel for him as just a football fan. And the reason you feel for him is that I think he's a very likable player, and he's a damn good one. But it's starting to feel like he's just going to be one of those guys that when you look back on this era of football, he was the one that challenged Patrick Mahomes the most, but he just never could beat him. And he's going to be a Hall of Famer, and he's still going to have opportunities in his career to win a Super Bowl. Do not get that twisted. Just because they lost for a fourth time against Kansas City tonight in the postseason, it does not mean he'll have no opportunities again. We've seen that in the NFL. A team that was playing with house money, got to the Super Bowl, didn't get it done, and we never saw them again. The NFL's tough like that. Cincinnati, who was the last team to beat the Chiefs in the postseason, haven't returned to the postseason since the Super Bowl against L.A. But Buffalo, tonight, I don't know if it just feels worse than last year because of the recency bias. It just hit you. But if I was a Buffalo fan, this would be one that just, I don't know how you really answer for it. And Josh Allen had to answer some questions. So without further ado, here was Josh Allen after his fourth loss to Patrick Mahomes in the postseason.
Josh, to come up short again, what are your emotions right now?
It's not fun. But to beat the champs, you gotta beat the champs, you gotta beat the champs, and we didn't do it tonight.
Can you take me through the fourth down play there and the pressure?
Yeah, they gave a good look. Didn't see anything in my first cadence. We were sliding left. Corner came. Yeah.
But when you get this close, none of that, how much of that even matters when it comes to how successful you do this?
Yeah, you can either get it done or you can't, and we didn't get it done.
The pass to Hollins right in the first half, how much of a jolt did that give you guys to get you back in the game?
Huge jolt. He's played his ass off all year and made plays today. Curtis made plays. Guys made some plays today. We got to make one more and score one more point than them, and we didn't do that tonight.
What did they do on the third and 4th and 1 plays to snuff those out against you?
They got big guys in there. They played it well.
Josh, how much was just a lot of today failed execution on things that you guys were able to execute on in the season?
That's hard to tell right now until we watch it. I'm not quite sure, but the result is a loss, and so to answer your question, not good enough.
Despite the heartbreak, you know that when you touched out probably in a few hours, there's going to be a sea of people waiting in the for you. The idea of Western New York and them riding on this, thoughts on this fan base?
They're the best, but we just want to get it done, and we haven't been able to.
Josh, when you get the ball back down 3, how did you feel about the situation?
Felt good, relaxed. We just, gotta execute better.
Josh, how much does the fact that it's been this specific team that's ended you guys' season so often playoffs add to the disappointment?
Well, they've ended a lot of team seasons too. And it's a good squad. They had a good plan tonight, and again, they made more play than we did.
May take a couple days, but how much pride do you take in this group for the season?
I got so much pride in our guys, showing up each and every day, working as hard as they can. guys truly adopted what we talked about this year going into it. Yeah, love these guys.
Josh, that made it really difficult for you on those quarterback sneaks. When you got more success, everything you were catching, the defensive line was doing, did they just read it and get the good jumps? What was the problem?
Yeah, I mean, I think 1, jumps, 2, they played it well, put their big guys inside, and our linebackers were coming downhill pretty hard, and yeah, they played it well.
Thanks, everybody. Thank you, Josh.
Man, that was Josh Allen after the game. Dylan, you were exactly right. That is a dejected guy.
I tried to warn you.
But here's the thing with Josh Allen is I do think he's incredibly likable. He's incredibly talented. I mean, I think when you look back at this era, as I've said a few times throughout the show, there's just some really talented guys that haven't won the big one just yet. Like Lamar Jackson and I say this, maybe I shouldn't be saying it as a younger person myself, but for kids who are growing up right now, 10, 11 years old, they mimic Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes in the backyard. But Patrick Mahomes is the only guy that's won not just one, but multiple big games. And for Allen, he's with a franchise that has just been cursed their entire existence. And that, I think, Chiefs and Bills fans could sympathize over before Patrick Mahomes got to Kansas City. I mean, even the good years with Alex Smith, winning a lot of games, being in the postseason, never came close to getting to a Super Bowl. And you just felt snake-bitten. Buffalo is snake-bitten, but they're snake-bitten by the same snake. Like, it just always seems to end with Kansas City. And it's brought together a great rivalry for the NFL because these games are always phenomenal, whether it's regular season or postseason. You tell me one Chiefs and Bills game that didn't really live up to the hype. I'm thinking of one back in 2021, I think it was, Chiefs and Bills on Sunday night at Arrowhead, and the Bills just dominated them. Mahomes threw the ball like 50 times or 55 times, and he threw for less than 300 yards. It was ugly.
You could even say on our side the first.
Yeah, the COVID year in Buffalo.
That wasn't a game.
Chiefs dominated basically from start to finish.
And there wasn't even a crowd. It was kind of
It was Clyde Edwards-Helaire's, I think, coming out party, in my opinion. He had a really good performance in that game. Yeah, but, that's that part about it in the NFL, I think, is why so many people root for Josh Allen. He is very likable, but he's this guy that has been more cursed than I think any other quarterback in this era. Maybe you say Lamar Jackson, I understand that, but Lamar Jackson hasn't lost to the same quarterback and same team 4 times. And to hear him that dejected, I mean, you kind of run out of answers. He's been in this exact same spot 4 times. And you get asked, what's the issue? Why can't you win this game? Why doesn't this and that happen? But I will tell you this. He answered those questions like a pro. You couldn't say the same for the Houston Texans last week because there were controversial play calls and calls tonight. The 4th and 1, we talked about that with Matt Derrick. He felt like it was short and there wasn't any evidence to overturn it. I think a lot of Chiefs fans believe that too. There's a lot of other people that dislike the Chiefs that think it was an obvious first down. But I'll leave you with this point. Josh Allen did get the ball back with 3:30 to go, needing just a field goal to tie. We call those legacy drives. And Patrick Mahomes has had a lot of legacy drives, needing it in the Super Bowl, needing a field goal, needing a touchdown. He gets it done. The Buffalo Bills gained 17 yards on that drive. And then they had 2 opportunities to stop the Chiefs with under 2 minutes to go, and they couldn't get it done. Look, there's going to be bad calls. I'm not trying to say that the Chiefs haven't, benefited from any calls from officials this season. There have been some bad ones. We all know that. There also were terrible ones in the NFC Championship game today. But if you just boil it down to moments like that, 3:30, a potential MVP quarterback with the keys to the offense, there you go. There's your moment. Disregard stuff that happened before. Even the quarterback sneak. Yeah, it was a big change in momentum. But there was a lot of football left to be played. And Josh Allen did lead a game-tying touchdown drive. Then Mahomes went down and gave the Chiefs the lead, and there was his moment. Go drive down the field like you did in the 13-second game and give your team an opportunity to get to the Super Bowl. I think a big reason why he's dejected is he knows that he could have done more on that drive. He's not blaming Dalton Kincaid or anybody like that. It just wasn't the drive that the Bills had drawn up. That was Josh Allen after another loss to the Kansas City Chiefs in the postseason. Okay, we're going to take our final break of the show. When we come back, we'll wrap it all up on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Commercial, a division of Westlake Ace Hardware, is your local business-to-business supply partner. Our commercial team dedicated business-to-business website, credit terms, and convenience store locations make it easy. Visit your local Westlake Ace Hardware store or www.westlakehardware.com/commercial today. The early line for the Chiefs and Eagles in the Super Bowl in New Orleans is out. Kansas City, a 1.5-point favorite, the total at 49.5. February 9th, 5:30, round 2 in the Super Bowl between the Chiefs and the Eagles. Saquon Barkley versus Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, Jalen Hurts. The stars will be on display, and that'll be our final Red and Gold postgame show of the year. Glad we got there. But enjoy this win, and we'll talk to you next time, Kansas City.